my friends. J.R. Dukes with you. Appreciate everybody tuning in. I just hit the start button just to make sure everybody can hear us loud and clear and that everything is working the way it should be working. All righty. Say hello to everybody out there. Want to say hello to everyone on the X platform and, of course, all my friends on YouTube. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. If you have any problem hearing me or if you have any questions, be sure to put them in the comments below. That's what I'm here for. Have a conversation with each and every one of you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. J.R. Dukes, your host. I'm here to help put an end to the dreaded disease of indoctrination. Need to talk about the current events, things that affect my life, your life, and that's what this channel is all about, is to help you understand the world we're living in, thereby living your best life possible. Want to make sure, okay, we're on Twitch. Good job. Everything is working the way it should work. And once again, if you like, go ahead and put a hello in the comments below. And want to make sure everybody can hear me correctly. We're going to start in 2 seconds here. I got a good program for us tonight. We have some good news to start off with. Is probably one of the better things I want to talk about. And of course, on all the platforms, you can find me at Reach J.R. Dukes or simply on YouTube at J.R. Dukes. On X, I am at Reach J.R. Dukes in case anybody is trying to find me on a particular venue or avenue out there. So let's go ahead and get started with tonight's program. First of all, I want to tell everybody that I know it's been a little while since I've been broadcasting live, but I've been out of town. I've been dealing with some, let's just say, family issues out of state in the great state of Arkansas. And it's, you know how it is. Our parents get older, this type thing, and we have obligations that we got to take care of. I'm working in basically a solution, if you will, to where I can broadcast more readily, more easier, no matter where I'm at. And that's what I think I've found a solution to, and we'll see how it works going forward. So again, I apologize that it's been a little while since I was able to actually go live, but these type of things happen. You know, if you live long enough, we all have families. These type of things can be a potential issue, a potential problem. But I want to get started on some very good news. I mean, first of all, what a wonderful, wonderful start to 2025 with President Donald Trump coming to office and all the vast, all the wonderful, all the necessary, important changes happening. I mean, it's just amazing. So my friend Sapphire, thank you for being here as always from the great state of Montana. Yeah, and thanks for reminding me, Sapphire. If you haven't done so already, as you join the conversation, please take a second to go ahead and type in a hello and let us know where you're from. I like to always see and kind of gauge where everybody is from, as we generally get people all over the country, if not all over the world. So let's go ahead and let me share this screen with you here, because I think you guys are going to find this interesting. And again, this is some very good news. You may remember from last year, the video that's playing right now, this was a interview that I did with a young lady that is the cousin of one of the then hostages in Israel. She is a IDF soldier. She was captured. Her name, by the way, is Agam Berger. She was captured. This is really, really off the top here. She was captured in one of these kibbutz the first day she was standing guard as an IDF soldier. Her job was to guard the particular kibbutz that she was in over there in Israel. And of course, we all know what happened. I believe was it October 7th. All these radicals, all these Hamas crazies came over there and killed all these people, and they took a bunch of hostages. Well, guess what? I am pleased to tell everybody, if you haven't heard it on the news already, that Agam Berger is free, and she seems to be in relatively good health. Again, you're looking at a actual video that I did with her cousin last year, and I did reach out to her cousin and I sent her a congratulation and to let her know that personally myself and everyone from our channel here is prayerful for the family, and we're glad that everyone is on the mend. At least that's exactly what it seems to be happening right now. Here, I don't know if you have seen her. I mean, she's been on and off the news many times. Agam Berger, they've been talking about her because she has kind of gained a little bit of fame, if you will. I really think she would probably rather not have this fame if this is what it takes to be famous. But she's known for two things. She is an excellent violinist. She plays a very mean violin, if you will. Additionally, she was the one that was doing the hair for all the hostages. That's it. And there she is right there on your screen when she was taken captive. So extremely, extremely sad. And again, the good news is she is well and she is back in Israel. And she was captured for quite some time. And it's just joyous to be able to start with such good news. Here is a actual report from the Israeli news media in which this young lady, let me make sure I got the screen blown up all the way for us. This particular young lady came forward and was actually talking to the press. Now, this original clip that I'm about to show you, the only problem, I guess you could say, with this clip, I mean, it is captioned, so you know what she's saying in English, but she's speaking in Hebrew, I believe. And there we go. So again, one day, this particular clip is a little bit longer than a day ago. Let me make sure I blow it up in full screen. That is her actual voice you're hearing. I'm going to go ahead and mute it just because I'm sure most of us don't speak Hebrew, but you can read the closed captioning there. And I have a quick article from one of the newspapers there in Israel to read pertaining to her release. But there she is on the helicopter right after her freedom. She was reintroduced, of course, to her parents. Apparently her older sister, is currently serving as an IDF agent, and her sister actually met her out in the field. I should say she went out to meet her sister in the field after she was released. There she is in the hospital, being reunited again with her brother, her sisters, other family members. Just a phenomenal, happy homecoming. And if I do say, of course, I'm not a doctor, I can't diagnose by looking at people. She looks relatively healthy considering the ordeal she has went through. Some of the other hostages that you're probably aware of look rather emaciated. They look like they were in a concentration camp, if you would. She seems to be in a much better place than some of the other hostages were. So I think that's good news. And again, I'm happy to see that there was such a positive outcome. If I'm being perfectly straight about this here, I did not necessarily think that this day would ever come, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I just did not think there was much of a chance. And you know what? That they were actually going to release her, but apparently, obviously they did, and I couldn't be happier. This was an article in the Times of Israel. I'm just going to read through this briefly. Freed hostage on deal debate. We felt like our lives were worth enough. She's talking about the fact that she heard the debate going on as to whether or not Israel should make a deal with Hamas. There's a lot of concern that if you set the example of trading for these hostages and releasing actual prisoners that Israel has in their jails, that it's a bad precedent, and it's only going to make things worse. We have similar debates here in this country whenever there is some type of deal for a hostage or someone that is being held by a foreign adversary. So it's a normal debate, I guess, if you would. But her words are worth taking a look into. It says Agan Berger says she had access to radio until 4 hostages were rescued by Israeli forces. Family of this Bar Kemprinsky says hostage release Saturday confirmed he is alive. Agan Berger, an IDF surveillance officer who was kidnapped on October 7th and freed last month, said Tuesday that it was hard while in captivity to hear about the debate in Israel over the cost of a deal to bring the hostages home. Asked about suggestions at the price of a ceasefire deal was too high, Berger told public radio, it's not their fault that they were kidnapped. They need to know that people are fighting for them. Amen. She continues, we have to pay a price, but we have to keep fighting for the hostages left behind. The young men are being abused in a different way, she said. 6 male hostages were released Saturday. Soon after their release, some of the men recalled that their captors abused them by shackling them or denying them food. Berger said, hearing about the debate around the hostage deal while in captivity made the captives feel, this is a quote, feel like our lives weren't worth enough. And of course, there's the title of this particular article. However, she said they heard senior officials saying they were ready to pay the price of a deal, and that gave them hope. So again, amen. Praise God. I'm very happy for this family. I'm happy for everyone involved in this situation, that she was in good health and that she was free, did not come home in a body bag. Kind of a miracle when you think about it. I was pretty certain that when all these hostages were taken all the way back, what's it been now, year and a half, or approximately a year and a half, these people were as good as dead. At least that was just my feelings concerning this situation. And obviously, I'm glad I am wrong. So, fantastic news for the family of Agan Berger. I'm curious, too, if you don't mind, take a second and let me know in the chat. Do you think it's a good idea for Israel to make a deal with these terrorists, with this Hamas? And I'm also curious if you think that Israel should continue to try to get the hostages freed that are being currently held by Hamas, or should they just go in right now and annihilate Hamas? I mean, let's be straight up and be honest about this. There's no way that these people living in the Gaza Strip, Hamas, and the people they allegedly, supposedly represent are ever going to come to peace with Israel. It's just not going to happen. I personally think President Donald Trump's plan, his offer, whatever you want to call it, to have everyone that lives in the Gaza Strip relocated somewhere else, I think there's a lot of genius behind that, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Curious what y'all think about it. If you care to, put a comment, let me know. But folks, these people are never going to live in peace together. They've been fighting for a very long time, since biblical times, when you get right down to it. I don't see that a peace deal is going to happen. I just think that we're just going to have a continuation of everything that's been going on in that area of the world, and it's going to continue in the future. I don't see any hope any other way. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is now. It makes sense to me that most of the people that live in Gaza right now, these people are basically from Jordan. And that's where President Trump has come up with this plan to replace, or I should say, remove the people that live in Gaza and place them in Egypt or Jordan. Makes sense to me. That's where their original homelands are from. It only makes sense that that's where you would take time and move them back to. But again, that's just my opinion, and we'll see exactly how this works out. Let's switch to President Donald Trump. I want to talk a little bit today about the J6 hostages and how wonderful it is that these people are free. Again, praise God, Donald Trump won. Do you all realize that had President Donald Trump not won, you know what would be going on right now, right? What would be going on right now is he 100% would be in jail. I don't think there's really any other way to say exactly what would be happening to Donald Trump right now, other than to say he would be incarcerated right now today. I think that's extremely apparent and definitely obvious. Let me go ahead and pull up our next screen here, because I want to start diving into the actual feed that I have for us today on the X platform. And we're going to also take a peek at the Truth Social platform. The best view that I can make for us on this here. Okay, let's go ahead and start rolling with this. Okay, so I found this one article by this woman. Her name is Savannah Hernandez. She has a lot of followers on here. Currently, we have President Donald Trump had his first cabinet meeting today, and it's just always extremely interesting to me when you have these fake news reporters, such as you got Jake Tapper over at CNN, and these other people that are all about indoctrination. If you want my honest opinion about it, they're all about indoctrinating their viewers. They're all about spreading the message they want you to believe. They're all about wanting you to see the world through their eyes. You know, when you think about the election that just happened, it's amazing to me that President Trump actually won the popular vote. And even though the vote was relatively close, basically 2.5 percentage points, he probably won, what is it, about 2.5 million votes, something like that. When you consider that you had the entire apparatus, if you will, against President Trump. You had the news media that essentially gave him 24/7 negative news coverage. I've even seen negative reports on Fox News concerning President Trump at the time, right before the election. You consider the constant hammering of Donald Trump in the press, his constant court cases. You had this Judge Merchant out of New York hammering him. You had Fani Willis, Nathan Wade out of Georgia going after him and arresting him, posting his mugshots. I mean, folks, this has been a never-ending siege an attack on President Donald Trump. It's really amazing that he won by the percentage that he won. Now, if you look at the Electoral College, what was that last count? 312, I believe, was the electoral poll or the electoral count that President Trump ended up with. Well, that's technically a landslide as far as the percentages go. Again, a little bit closer on the popular vote, but the fact that a Republican actually won the popular vote, which is kind of crazy by itself, and did it against all the odds that he faced. To me, I think that's just nothing short of amazing. So I don't know if you share that opinion or not, but that's definitely the way that I see it. And thank God that that is the case. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of these videos here. Again, you have Jake Tapper, who before was engaging along with all the other mainstream news media, with the exception of probably Fox News and Newsmax, denying that Joe Biden had a cognitive issue of some sort. Now, on my channel, if you look back and you've been subscribed to the channel for quite some time, you know that I have been talking about this, hammering this subject for quite some time, way before the mainstream news was talking about it, or really anybody else was talking about it. I've been talking about this for a long time. It was so obvious something was wrong with former President Joe Biden. By the way, it just sounds good to say that, that former President Joe Biden. It just feels good. It's got a ring. It's flowing off my tongue. I like that. Clearly, something was wrong with that man, and clearly, the people around him conspired. There's no other way to say it. Conspired to find a way to hide that from each and every one of us. And I don't know what can necessarily be done about that, or what should be done about that entirely, but that should not be allowed to stand. We, as the American public, should know at all times what the health is. I mean, within reason. Know what the health is, what the condition of our commander-in-chief is. It's extremely important for each and every one of us, and frankly, for the entire world. I mean, it's just what it boils down to. So let's go and take a look at this first video. You're going to see this reporter tracking down Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, and trying to hold them accountable, for their flip-flopping, and they're trying to sell a book now. So let's take a quick peek.
I'm here at CNN. I can't get very close to them because their security guard is blocking me. But we've got Jake Tapper here. We've got Chris Wallace. We also have Dana Bash. Now, I've been asking them why they have been lying to the American public about the mental decline of Joe Biden. None of you guys would like to respond to that at all? No? Dana, you're a very respected journalist. Jake, not so much respected, but people listen to you still. Would any of you guys like to respond to Joe Biden's cognitive decline and why you guys lied to the American people about it for so long? Can you please take your hands off of me? So there you guys go. That's the media. They refuse to answer the questions of the American people.
And of course, you had Chris Wallace there. Remember, he used to be on Fox News, I think, for a while. And or where was he fired off of? He was fired off one of the mainstream news channels. At any rate, I'm glad to see him gone. I'm glad when he was shown the door. It's interesting that you have all these birds of a feather, if you will, flocking together with their own personal security guards. Interesting, and I thought it was funny, very funny, how this young lady was telling Dana Bash, "You're an important reporter," and then of course she turns to Jake Tapper and says, "Well, you're not as respected," or whatever her wording was. Kind of cute, kind of funny. I like it when people take the time to give them a taste of their own medicine. Is about the best way to say it. Again, here is something by Colin Rugg, CNN. Jake Tapper, who covered up Biden's mental decline, is releasing a book titled Original Sin, which covers the cover-up of his mental decline. This is like committing a crime and then investigating yourself for that crime. When you think about it, that's a good way to look at it. So let's listen to this together.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline. Okay. That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You are It's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think.
I'm
that
diagnosing.
somebody in
I'm
the Trump
saying that we
family would be
see
more
that Joe
sensitive
Biden of
to people who
today
do not have
is
medical
not the Joe
licenses,
Biden of 5
diagnosing
years ago,
politicians
of 10
from
years ago.
afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you, your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any
I'm
standing to
not
say.
diagnosing him. What I'm saying,
You
Jake,
just talked
is
about
that
a
we can
cognitive
clearly
decline.
see that Joe Biden
I
is
have one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You
many
can't.
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely
you,
feel
Laura
sorry
Trump.
for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure.
Okay, so you have this this perfect clip here, if you will, and this was Jake Tapper before the election, before Biden came out, and it was obvious that with that debate he did with Donald Trump, it was obvious that there's some type of issue. So you have Jake Tapper, who's now trying to hawk a book investigating this cover up and this conspiracy surrounding Biden's health. You see how he acted in reality when you had Laura Trump bring up the fact that, hey, something's wrong with then President Joe Biden. And he had, let's just call it an extreme reaction, folks, as to her making that comment. That was so obvious for the rest of us. It was definitely obvious to me something was wrong with Joe Biden, but don't dare say that out loud. Otherwise, you're going to get attacked like Jake Tapper's being attacking Laura Trump here. And of course, this just shows how dishonest this individual is. And now he thinks he can flip the coin and investigate his own crime, if you will. I like the way that Colin was referring to this this particular incident right now. And just again, these people just have absolutely no shame, and I'm glad that at least at times they're being called out for their crazy conduct. Come across this clip too. You know, I love this young lady here, Riley Gaines. You know, she has been for quite some time now coming out and fiercely, firmly advocating for women only, I should say, in women's sports. It's really just shocking to me. It's shocking to my conscience that after women have fought for so many years to have, let's just say, equal rights or to have the right to vote. And then, of course, they fought very hard for what they call Title IX, and women fought very hard and for women's sports, to have their own sports leagues and to have equal representation in the schools, this type of thing. You have these liberal nuts, these crazy, crazy idiots. I don't really think of another word for these people. I mean, it's really hard to believe that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I would be sitting here on a computer discussing with you the fact that men should not compete in women's sports. It's just common sense to me. Clearly, biological men, have an advantage over women in sports. And I'm talking about muscle strength, how big a man generally is compared to a woman. I mean, it's just, it's obvious. It's obvious to everyone except these woke liberal loons. And these people are so nutty that even saying what I just said, you're going to have people saying, oh, he's misogynistic. He's anti-woman. It's really just silly. I have 4 daughters, and I can assure you I would do whatever I had to do to advocate and defend them. And I would not want, now my daughters are all grown adults now, but I definitely would not want my minor daughters having to have a biological male in a room with them changing because someone does not have the cojones to stand up and say, hey, this is wrong. Men cannot compete in women's sports. And again, Riley Gaines has been doing that for some time. And of course, she's had a lot of good results with President Trump coming back into office as far as reestablishing, let's just call it common sense. Remember, Riley Gaines, she was the young lady that I believe she tied with a biological male for some title that she won in a swimming competition. But because they wanted fame, notoriety, whatever you want to call it, they wanted her to share the medal with the biological male. And this individual was the face of the medal, so to speak. They only wanted him to appear and make a comment on the podium pertaining to winning first place because I just thought it would be better press, that there would be, I guess, more money coming in, more advertisers. Who knows? See, these people are just nuts. These people are absolutely insane, ladies and gentlemen, and good for her for getting up and fighting and continuing to fight and speak out and being a good advocate for women's sports. But now you have the NCAA and the state of Maine. We probably saw that exchange the other day with President Trump and the current governor of Maine, because they basically are refusing to follow federal law and make sure that there are not biological males competing with women. It's really just that simple. And anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at this particular clip. I think you'll find it interesting.
We see you, NCAA.
We see you.
You announced a new policy after Trump's executive order.
This policy does not protect females.
It sets no clear boundary.
This policy does nothing
To ensure women's sports are for women only.
You said you were going to comply with federal law.
But you didn't.
Your policy is based on a birth certificate.
That's the proof required.
But it's no proof
It's
of
insane,
sex.
eh?
A birth certificate is a piece of paper.
which can be altered in all but 6 states.
And around the world.
And they can be wrong.
In 44 states, a person can change their birth certificate to say female.
And your policy still allows males on women's teams and in their locker rooms.
We see you, Charlie Baker.
We see you, Charlie Baker.
I love it, the way they're calling everybody out. Call them out by name. Amen. Good for these people. Good for these women. I hope they more power to them, right? More power to them. I hope they keep up the fight, and they keep up the good fight. It's about the best way I know how to say it. Interesting enough, a quick little side note: the man that tied with Riley Gaines in the pool for that particular medal I was just describing, don't quote me on this, but I believe he was ranked as a man like number 467 in the world as far as his ranking when he was a man. And of course, once he became a woman, surprise, surprise, he's first place, and he's shattering all kinds of records, all kinds of nonsense. It's laughable, but it's extremely sad and unfortunate, right? Amen to that. So let's wish Riley Gaines and all the people working with her a lot of well wishes. All right. Now I want to switch over to the cabinet meeting that President Trump had with his cabinet for the first time during his second administration. And I watched it earlier. I don't know if anybody had the opportunity to do so, but it was an interesting press conference. Unlike Joe Biden, President Trump has no problem answering questions, talking to the media, making sure he communicates with the American public, and he puts information out there that we all need to know. Well, one of the many criticisms that President Trump, Elon Musk, is coming up with right now is the fact that, according to the detractors, let's just say the legacy media, the woke, nutty, I call them woke and wacky, these nuts, these absolutely crazy folks, right? They're making a big deal about the fact that Elon Musk is not elected. He has no business taking over a cabinet meeting or whatever. They always have something to gripe about, right? They always have something to complain about. They always have something they're not happy about. And it's just outrageous. Of course, Elon Musk was not elected to anything. President Trump was elected, and it's very normal and customary to have an employee of the executive branch, and I'm talking, of course, about President Donald Trump, handle on behalf of the president, who, of course, is elected, duly elected, and was elected by a majority vote of our country, to have an employee have some other surrogate handle certain things on behalf of the president that he authorizes them to handle. And as a matter of fact, guess who used to handle, conduct, speak at cabinet meetings under former President Joe Biden? Well, as you can imagine by this video right here, let's see what his wife used to do during a cabinet meeting.
Where the United States continues to be home to the most cutting-edge research in the world, and where everyone can lead healthier lives. Thank you.
All right, so what you're looking at right there is the former First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, conducting the meeting as president, her husband, former President Joe Biden, sitting there with just a blank, stunned look on his face. When it comes to these woke Democrats, my friends, they have one policy that they hold themselves to, if you will, and then they want the Republicans to do something entirely different. They just love to gaslight and lie to each and every one of us. All right, so it is what it is. It's probably not going to change. They are rudderless. They have no message. They don't have a leader. These woke Democrats are just in the wilderness, my friends. They are lost. They don't have a home. They don't have a leader. They don't have a message. They are in shambles right now, and it doesn't look good for them, at least for the foreseeable future. Things always change one way or the other. Let's hope, let's pray that other leaders come up in the Democratic Party that are more mainstream. They're more centrist, if you will, that we get away from this hijacking of the Democratic Party, which has basically turned the Democrats into a bunch of socialists. That's not good for us. It's not good for the country. It's not good for the Democrats. And frankly, my friends, if they continue doing what they're doing right now, I can assure you they're going to continue to lose more elections. And I'm going to predict right now, even though it's 2 years away for these midterms that are going to be coming up, it goes by fast. We all know how that works out. These midterms that are coming up, it's not going to go well for the Democrats if they continue to stay on the same nonsensical path that they're on right now. End of story. For them, I hope they get their act together, and at least they get their messaging together. It's not good for our country to have a major political party like these Democrats who have adopted this progressive nonsense. Again, men competing with women. You can just change your sex anytime you want to change your sex. They're against Dodge actually saving money, cutting fraud, waste, abuse. I mean, can you believe that? How is it our country has come to a place where we have a major American political party and its leaders, that we're not sure who's really the leader or leaders of the party, coming out, yelling, speaking, just how much they hate, how much they're against stopping wasteful spending in the United States government. We have to put a stop to this, or we're going to have a very serious problem for our country. It's really just that simple. And matter of fact, I got a little video clip for us to look at. Our friend John Kennedy, the senator from the great state of Louisiana, said the people screaming so loudly about President Trump auditing federal spending are the same people who wanted to hire 80,000 plus new IRS agents to audit the American people under President Biden. If it weren't for double standards, there wouldn't be any standards at all in this town. Of course, we all know John Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy, always has a very colorful way of putting things. So let's take a quick peek at this here.
It strikes me as breathtakingly ironic. The cynic might say cynical, that the people who are screaming so loudly about President Trump's decision to audit federal spending are the very same people under President Biden who wanted to hire 80,000 new IRS agents with guns to audit the American people. As I've said before, if it weren't for double standards, there wouldn't be any standards at all in this town.
That's just insane, isn't it? 81,000 new IRS agents is what President Biden and his administration hired to basically become hired guns, if you will, to come after you, to come after me, to see how much more money they could squeeze from the American taxpayer. And now that President Trump and his team are essentially trying to stop this nonsense, you have all these woke Democrats coming out screaming and yelling from the mountaintops just how outrageous this is and how nonsensical this is. It just, the stupidity from their side never seems to stop amazing me. And I'm sure most of you probably feel the exact same way. Well, let's take a quick peek at Truth Social, our president's favorite platform. Of course, I guess he's not as mad with former Twitter, which of course now is the X platform, because of his new BFF, Elon Musk. I'm sure President Donald Trump realizes there's plenty of users to go around on the internet. So anyway, let's take a look at this clip that I found. We all are aware that President Trump has proposed many things pertaining to Gaza. We were just talking about that a few minutes ago. Not only does he want to remove all the residents of Gaza and send them back home to Jordan and or Egypt, he wants to go ahead and basically make Gaza great again, right? He wants to take all of that destroyed property there in Gaza, and he wants to turn it into, to use his words, he wants to turn it into beachfront property, put condominiums. I mean, after all, our president is a developer. He's a builder. I mean, this is what he has done for his entire adult life. His father's done the same thing before him. So it's kind of something that's ingrained in him, my friends. It's just part of who he is. I found this video, again, posted on the President Donald Trump's Truth Social posting. Let's take a peek at it. Of course, this is AI, so I want to disclose that on the front end. It's an AI production, but it's kind of cute. So let's take a peek at it together, and we will talk about it in just a second. Got to be careful with the music there because, you know, with YouTube, you can get into issues there. But most of it is just what you're seeing. There's really not any words in there. But you got Elon Musk. You got President Donald Trump right there. And, of course, they're showing before and afters of what his vision for the Gaza Strip could be. And apparently, President Donald Trump liked this particular AI clip, and it's cute. And there they are together. I think that's him and Bibi, President Trump and the Prime Minister of Israel together. It's kind of cute. He posted it. He made mention of it earlier, and I think it's worth chatting about. What do you think? Anybody like that? I thought it was cute, and I like to keep track of what the president has to say on Truth Social. All right. Now let's go ahead and switch into a couple of little interesting tidbits that are going on right now. Great news, more good news. We all know about sweet and loving Joy Reid over at MSNBC. You know, that socialist / communist, that crazy bunch of loons over there at MSNBC. My friends, I got great news. They are, as of right now, streamlining and cutting back the people that are working for them. You know, their ratings are in the toilet. They're just not doing that well. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Well, the good news here is that they're letting people go. And one of the people that were just let go was Joyless Reid. I'm sure we have probably all heard about her. And I really don't like to say this about people, but folks, I really don't know any nice way to say it. She is terrible, and she's a racist. I don't think there's really a nice way to put that. And I'm glad to see her go. Well, a lot of people have a lot of opinions pertaining to the subject. It's been all over the internet the last day or two. I saw her final show. I was watching a little clip of it. I believe it was yesterday was her final show. I was watching a little bit of it, and I've been keeping track of some of the comments online and just different people's reaction. Well, we all know and love Megyn Kelly, and apparently her and Don Lemon have had a over this right here. This particular title, this video here is Go Blank Yourself. Don Lemon erupts at Megyn Kelly after Joy Reid was fired from MSNBC. So let's take a quick peek at this. I think you'll find it interesting. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but I did want to show you some of the highlights or lowlights, whatever you want to call it, pertaining to Joy Reid, and we get to watch her cry for a bit, which is not really breaking my heart. I don't like to see anybody lose their jobs, my friend, but I think I can make an exception for this Joy Reid. There's just a special place somewhere for her. She's just accurately, she's just a race baiting, complete idiot loon. And that's about the nicest thing.
A war has erupted between two heavyweight political commentators in the wake of Joy Reid's shock firing from MSNBC after the network suffered a string of ratings disasters and money woes.
My show had value, and that that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And I think this is kind of like being on TV, so I apologize.
But not everyone was devastated. Outspoken commentator Megyn Kelly had no sympathy for Reid.
The big news tonight will be Joy Reid's final show on MSNBC. Single tear, white woman tears happening right here.
White woman tears.
She was officially fired over the weekend because she's a racist, horrible news anchor with no ratings. And That's really been the truth for a long time. MSNBC is under new management, and I guess they decided to come to grips with reality. The truth is, this is very sad news for us, as she's provided so much material over the years. I feel the way I felt when Brian Stelter got fired, but he came back, and you never know. I'm sure Joy Reid will wind up doing something where we will continue to get to respond to her absolutely insane POV.
This sparked a war of words
There's
online,
our friend
with
Don
former
Lemon. We
CNN
love him,
host
right?
Don Lemon blasting Kelly's response.
Let me just say to Megyn Kelly, in my
Uh-oh.
30-some years as a journalist, and my
professional word,
50-some years as a person of color, go yourself.
Ah,
Okay?
wonderful. Thank you, Don. Of course, he was fired by CNN.
And Lemon didn't stop there, showing his support for Reid by hosting a bizarre watch party live on YouTube for Reid's final show.
Hi, everyone. We're preparing at my house and on the Don Lemon Show for a Joy Reid watch party. So we will see you at 7 Eastern on the Don Lemon Show on YouTube to watch.
You know, the reality is this shouldn't surprise any of us, because when you see a colleague that you, I don't want to say that they love her, but I guess they do love her. They are all cut from the same piece of woke cloth. They're going to be mad. I mean, let's call it what it is. They got it handed to them in the election. ABC has paid $15 million because of George Stephanopoulos' nonsense. President Trump is on a roll. He's hammering the government as far as getting it back to where it should be. It should never have been this messed up to begin with. These woke ideologues realize that what they want is going away, that their vision for our country is over with, that Donald Trump is working expeditiously with a strong sense of fire, if you know what I mean. He's taking a torch to it all, or as Elon Musk showed us the other day, they're taking a chainsaw at everything, and they know their way of life is not what the American people want. That's not what the voters wanted, and we're just not going to tolerate it no more. I mean, it's really, really that easy, at least in my mind it is, and they're going to get what they deserve, and they're getting served right now, ladies and gentlemen. That's exactly the way that I would explain it and say it. So I want to switch gears, because final part here I want to talk to you about the great news with these J6ers. Now, I, for quite some time, have agreed with President Trump on these J6ers. I mean, let's just call it again what it is. These people were hostages, right? And I like to talk on this program a lot about things that have to do with the criminal justice system, how to deal with the criminal justice system, some of the challenges we're facing as a nation with the criminal justice system, and basically how to conduct yourself in the criminal justice system. Well, one thing I think that's interesting that I've come across when it comes to our criminal justice system is I get people all the time, they'll ask me something like, hey, why is it, if these people are innocent, and of course we're talking about these J6ers, why is it that people plead guilty? A lot of people have a hard time understanding the answer to that particular question. And what you find out when you listen to a lot of these interviews and a lot of these J6ers that were actually freed, and they're interviewed after their freedom, you're going to find an answer to a lot of this. And basically what it boils down to is this: when you have the full weight of the United States government, even on a state level, but this is a federal level, coming down on you, you're going to plead guilty to whatever they want you to plead guilty to. It's really just that simple. Think of it this way: are you willing to risk life in prison, 30 years in prison, 25 years in prison, because you decided to fight and you decided to stand up and defend yourself? Well, if you do that and you're not a wealthy individual, you just have normal means or whatnot, well, first of all, it's going to bankrupt you. It's going to take all the money that you possibly have or that you can possibly muster. That's the way our system works. Now, you can get a court-appointed attorney, is what a lot of people will tell me in response to what I just told you. But the reality is, the court-appointed attorney will be a good attorney, probably. But again, they are limited by a budget. They are limited by certain constraints. They unlike the federal government, who has a open, never-ending checkbook. They have resources that are absolutely limitless. The resources they have can beat you over the head with it all day long. So the bottom line is, if you're in this situation, whether you know it or not, you're going to show up in court and you're going to tell the judge, I shot JFK. I sure did. I was the one that did it, and here's what I did. And the reason you're going to basically lie under oath to a judge that you're guilty of the crime is because you don't want to take a chance on losing the rest of your natural life being put in a cage. You know, a lot of times we talk about jail as, oh, it's just jail. You know, you just go to jail, right? Folks, you're going to a cage. You're going to a very, very small, confined, dangerous area. A lot of these J6ers were put in solitary confinement. Solitary confinement should not be allowed in our country, shouldn't be allowed anywhere in the world, in my humble opinion. As a matter of fact, solitary confinement is banned by the Geneva Conventions. It's a crime, it's a war crime to put people in solitary confinement. When you deprive a human being of necessary sensory perceptions. You don't allow them to see, you don't allow them to hear. Basically, you don't allow them to talk to other individuals. You're going to literally drive a sane person crazy. It's just that simple. And in addition to all this, in relation specifically to J6, let's just call it what it is. You had the government under the Biden administration, the DOJ. They were lying, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely lying in court. And they were withholding evidence, changing evidence. They were not given all of the evidence that they need to defend themselves. It's just the fact. There's too many videos showing that, well, let's just put it this way. Clearly, the government, the FBI specifically, had agitators in the crowd trying to basically encourage people to break the law, encourage people to riot. They did everything they could to make President Donald Trump at the time look bad and basically just stir up problems. Remember, there was a pipe bomb that was placed by some individual they have on tape. We still don't know who that alleged bomber was. A lot of speculation online is that it had something to do with the FBI. Basically, it was a plant. I am very confident that under the new leadership of Kash Patel, we might get some answers to these questions. But remember, the corruption, the deception, the evil in these departments, and the swamp, as President Trump calls it, runs deep, vast, and they have a lot of ways of hiding things. There's a report that came out today about former FBI Director James Comey actually starting operations against President Donald Trump all the way back from 2016, all the way back 2015, 2016, if you will. And they never put these investigations, where these were what they call honeypot type investigations, where basically the allegation is they were trying to set Donald Trump up and other individuals in his campaign using what they call the honeypot scam, which is basically meaning they're having women get them to do certain things in exchange for things that a woman might do with a man, that type of situation. So the fact of the matter is, this whole thing was nothing but lawfare. It was nothing but enabling the United States federal government to go after these individuals, to send a message, to make sure they get a conviction at all costs, to go after these people, to make Donald Trump look as bad as possible. One final point before we look at this next video. One of these former J6ers, or these former people that were actually in prison, they sent him to prison, I think it was 3 or 4 months, but they also gave him a sentence that lasted right up until now. And part of his conditions for him to be released from jail was he could not talk about the January 6th incident or his case at all to the news. And of course, the reason for that is he couldn't come on the news, Fox News, whomever, and say exactly what I'm telling each and every one of you, that the fix is in, that these people were all these people had the screwdriver taken to them, and they were pushed, prodded, and threatened is probably the best word to use, to get a conviction at all costs. That's exactly what this is all about. So let's go and take a look at this first video, and then
shares the disturbing video of what he says he saw and heard during the attempt to overturn the 2020 election. As promised, President Donald Trump on day one,
we hope they come out tonight,
pardoned nearly 1,600 people charged in the deadly attack on the nation's capital. This is video fishing boat captain Jake Hiles captured what he says is proof some police officers contributed to the deadly chaos.
I have videos that show Capitol Police inciting riots by shooting. They were walking through the crowds with a super soaker style water gun that was full of bear spray. I have on video, I have a man who had been sprayed by a Capitol Police officer. I'm standing right beside him, and he walks up to the Capitol Police officer and says, "Hey, why'd you spray me with bear spray?" You know, the guy he said he was a Vietnam veteran and he's never done anything but serve the country.
Twice before, Hiles shared his story with 10 on Your Side, but for the first time, he's sharing his video.
It was what I was told in August of 2021 in a Zoom meeting with Brandon Merriman, who is the special agent in charge of January 6th. He told me that if I go to the media and start talking about January 6th, if my videos find the media or the internet, that I would, quote, spend the rest of my life in prison. I asked for what? He said, "I'll find something."
Hiles pleaded guilty to parading, demonstrating, or picketing in a Capitol building in a case that cost him 6 figures. Democratic Senator.
Yeah, did you hear that? The cost was in the 6 figures for this individual trying to defend himself. And ladies and gentlemen, a lot of these people that were caught up in this simply walked through what they perceived to be open doors at the Capitol building. They didn't damage anything. They didn't go out of line, if you will, where the barricades are, having people walk through. It's really outstanding, amazing, shocking how these people were hammered with the full weight of the law to get a conviction. And they just don't, the government, the DOJ, the Biden administration did not care about these people. And they've been lying to us the whole time. On top of this, that there were police officers killed, that there was all this, that's nonsense. No police officer was killed as a direct result of J6. That's just a fact. The person that was killed was that one former Marine. Her name is escaping me. If anybody knows it, feel free to type it in. She was the one killed by that particular Capitol police officer that has a very colorful record, to say the least. That was the same police officer that left his gun in the men's bathroom years ago. This guy has a long record, and I plan on talking more extensively about that in another video. But the fact of the matter is that the only person killed that day was that former Marine who went through a window, an interior window, and this cop shot her dead. She was unarmed. She was not necessarily threatening anybody in the sense, "I'm coming to get you." She was simply crawling through a broke glass window. And for that, she paid with her life. And nothing, to my knowledge, has happened to that police officer as of right now. As a matter of fact, former President Joe Biden gave that bozo an award, if you can imagine that. When it comes to Joe Biden, my friends, I could pretty well just about imagine anything and everything you can think of. So crazy, nutty. But I assure you this, I'm going to talk at length about J6 and some other observations that we all need to consider, think about, and frankly study, so that we can learn what lessons are necessary to learn from this J6 fiasco and the unfortunate weaponization of our government. You know, I will say this, when it comes to this great country of ours, the fact is, presidents come, presidents go, and we may not always like the president that is in office. But at the end of the day, we're all Americans. We all come together, and we just continue to move on. The thing that I cannot handle when it comes to former President Joe Biden, thank God it's former President Joe Biden, is I simply cannot get off the fact that he introduced lawfare into our country, that he allowed our government agencies, our great government agencies like the FBI, to be weaponized, to have the Department of Justice to go after our former president personally, and clearly conspired with the state of Georgia, Fani Willis, Nathan Wade, Letitia James in New York, this Judge Merchant. I'm telling you, it's going to be shocking, the amount of fraud and the amount of planning that went into all of this, and they all conspire. You talk about a conspiracy, this is a conspiracy, and it's going to come out sooner or later now that President Donald Trump is back in power. But it is just something I cannot get my mind around pertaining to President Joe Biden. It's something I hope history judges Biden for what it is. The worst president in the history of the United States. He probably has done more damage to our country than we, any of us, actually realize. And that's just my opinion. That's my take. If you have a different take on it, I'd be interested in hearing your opinion pertaining to this. I want to quickly go over the fact that one of the sitting U.S. representatives, you say, which is right here in my backyard, here in St. Pete, Tampa, St. Pete area, that is represented by the great and beautiful U.S. representative, who is a Republican, Anna Paulina Luna. Talked about her on this program many times. Not only is she beautiful, she's smart, she's charismatic, she's very supportive of President Donald Trump. She has been a true patriot, and she has introduced a bill to put President Donald Trump's image on Mount Rushmore. Isn't that kind of cool? It says Florida Representative, Republican of the USA, Anna Paulina Luna has filed legislation that would direct the Secretary of the Interior to carve the figure of President Donald Trump on Mount Rushmore National Memorial in South Dakota. If you haven't been up there to see that, I encourage each and every one of you to plan a trip to South Dakota to see the Mount Rushmore National Monument. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It is even more stunning and more amazing when you see it in person. I think it was actually during COVID back in 2020. My girlfriend Rose and I were able to get in the car, start traveling around the United States. And one of the many places we went was to Mount Rushmore. And it's something neither one of us will ever forget. Just an absolutely amazing, amazing monument. And it truly, when I viewed it and I saw it, it just, it's another something that makes you proud to be an American. It's just great to see our history, how far we've come as a nation, and it gives me hope. It probably will give you hope. So if you haven't visited, I encourage you to do so. It goes on to say in a press release, Luna, first elected in 2020 and reelected last November, said the bill aims to honor Trump for his transformative impact on America and the historical significance of his leadership. Amen. In addition to that, she went ahead and I got a copy of the actual bill. I'll share this with you real quick because it's just kind of interesting. It's not a long bill. I found this online, just a short little bill here, and it's titled, as you would expect, just a bill to direct the Secretary of the Interior to arrange for the carving of the figure of President Donald J. Trump on Mount Rushmore National Monument. Just a one-page bill, my friends. Simple, easy, to the point, right? You gotta love it. I think it's an exciting idea. Is it going to happen? Probably not, but it's something that I found interesting when I came across it. So to wrap things up here, I want to tell each and every one of you, I am sorry that I have been so busy out of state. As you know, I said at the top of the program, if you didn't hear me originally, I just had a lot of family issues to deal with in the great state of Arkansas. I've made arrangements so that hopefully I can stay and more ready on a daily basis, or at least 2 or 3 times a week, communication with each and every one, because I enjoy talking about the subjects that are going on in U.S. politics and just life in general, especially these legal topics that we need to talk about, because I'm all about cutting through this indoctrination, helping us understand the world we live in so that we all can live our best life possible. It's really just that simple, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I always appreciate you all joining me. It's been right about an hour, so I don't want to go over the hour. I try to stay in. I want to thank everybody on the X platform for joining me today. Of course, you can always find me on X simply at Reach JR Dukes. All the other platforms, I am simply at JR Dukes. If you need me, my contact information is scrolling at the bottom below. Feel free to text me. You can text me anytime directly, any questions, comment. You need someone to talk to, I'm happy to give you my advice, or whatever that may or may not be worth. That's what I am here is for each and every one of you. And may God continue to bless each and every one of you and your families. May everybody be strong, healthy. May everybody have a prosperous 2025. And I encourage you to keep in touch with me. Like I just said, I really enjoy the two-way conversations back and forth, and I enjoy helping all the people that somehow I seem to be able to help out from time to time. It's truly an honor when you take time to join me and to listen to what I have to say, and to be living in 2025 and have the ability to reach out on a platform like YouTube or X or Twitch or any of these other platforms is truly a blessing and truly amazing. And when you take time to join me, I do not take it for granted. I believe on YouTube alone, we just passed over 7,200 subscribers. I appreciate that. That makes me feel good. I like it when someone takes time to hit the subscribe button. If you haven't done so already, subscribe, hit the thumbs up button. Again, any questions, be sure to let me know. Like to always say, my friends, keep that mind free. Never give up. Until next time, I am JR Dukes.